got my cheat sheet now as we shift to our high school preview. It is championship week in South Dakota and actually Minnesota because they had to play a week earlier this year.
And Iowa.
Well, Iowa's semifinals right now. But big week for them. They're going down to the Unidome. So let's start in South Dakota. A lot of matchups.
Minnesota. It's a lot easier. Yeah, let's do those first.
Okay, well, he's the man. So we've got 3 games. And
did you guys hear that? Yeah. Okay. He's kind of bossy. Doesn't say that very often.
Moving on. You can watch all the championships, by the way, on our digital sub-channel, Cozy TV. There's 3 local teams of our regional area interest in this thing. On Friday at 1 o'clock, maybe one of the best stories of them all, Pipestone playing Caledonia for the AA title. Last year they went to state for the first time in 30, 40-some years.
40 years.
And now they have, even though they changed coaches in the offseason, they have been one of the most dominant teams in the region, going unbeaten. Like I said, Caledonia at 1 o'clock. And then,
I like how they're playing. They're a team that runs the football extremely well. They do what they do, and they dare you to stop them. And so far, nobody's been able to stop them. I mean, look at their 49-9 in the semifinals. I mean, and then you get to the semifinals, you're playing somebody pretty good.
And somebody you haven't seen before, too, so no familiarity at all. And it's interesting, too, because running the football, unlike the Dakota Dome and unlike next year when that new Vikings stadium's open, you have to play outdoors at TCF Bank, so I don't know what the weather's looking like, but if you have a running team outdoors, you should have a pretty good shot to win. Speaking of a team that does what they do, Minnesota, who, of course, won the title last year. They were a dominant team a year ago. They've been dominant again. You got to get up early on Saturday morning. 10 a.m. they play Minneapolis North, trying to defend their state championship. And then at 1 o'clock, another dominant running team. That's definitely a theme in this. Jackson County Central, we've seen them a couple of times. A lot of running backs, power there.
And they light up the scoreboard. They score a lot of points.
They play Piers at 1 o'clock. I mean, again, we don't know much about these teams they're playing because we never see them. What was that?
Of course they're playing their peers.
That's P-I-E-R-Z for you folks there. We don't know much about these teams they're playing because we never see them, but you've got, as you kind of mentioned with Pipestone, these are 3 running teams outdoors in Minneapolis. That's I think that could be a pretty good formula for all of them. I mean, Jackson County Central they've taken a few losses, but they've been pretty good. They really have rolled it up here in the playoffs.
I'm checking for the weather, so I just want to see what it's going to be like outside at TCF Bank Stadium.
I hope it's snowing and
No, I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be okay. I'm just about there to my 5-day forecast.
You know, the weather this year for the playoffs has been pretty darn good.
42 and windy on Friday. Okay, that's Pipestone. Well, see, that's good for a running team.
Yeah.
42 and windy. That's perfect for a running team. Perfect. Clay, you got what you wanted. Clay Anderson, head coach, Pipestone Arrows.
You know, we really haven't had much to complain about with the playoff weather this year. No blizzards.
It's been good.
1 or 2 chilly days, but last Saturday especially, was great. You got the Saturday forecast up?
No, it only stops at Friday. So.
Well, we'll assume it's probably about in that ballpark.
I'll keep trying.
Iowa as well. They're going to the semifinals right now in 2A. Spirit Lake plays North Fayette Valley at 4 o'clock on Saturday. Before that, in the 1A game, Western Christian playing Van Meter, which is actually the birthplace of Bob Feller. A little history lesson there. So those are, again, semifinal games at the Unidome. A couple of different teams. We haven't seen, usually it's been Central Line and West Line. Yeah, Spirit Lake's been knocking on the door, and now they're finally there.
And they've been beating people handily to get here, too.
Killed Central Lion,
Central Lion, George Little Rock. It was pretty impressive. And they, I think, beat Sioux Center 35-0 in the game before that. So.
Well, moving over to the South Dakota side, we've got 7 championship games. It all starts bright and early on Thursday with the team that might be the most dominant one by the look of their scores. The 9A championship between Canastota and Sully Buttes, 10:30 at the Dome. Canastota's been a machine with Jared Nielsen just running people over, and their quarterback, Shea Jolly, pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you got a quarterback like by the last name of Jolly, you got to be happy about your team.
And he throws to his brother, Scott Jolly, so a lot of Jolly times
And the
there.
Jolly Ranchers are in the tournament, too.
Yeah, I was about to get to that one. That's the Friday game at 10:30, Harding County and Langford. I knew you'd like that one just for the Jolly Ranchers.
I love them the Jolly Ranchers. I've been doing that for 30-some years. Since Jolly Ranchers were invented, I've been calling them that.
Jolly
I
Ranchers
also like the Langford Lions. Paul Roush's team has got some really talented kids there. And these are kids that have been playing at a high level in basketball as well. So I think they're going to welcome being on the big stage. They're not going to be afraid of going into the dome and going, wow, because they've been there in basketball. They're a pretty good team. But, again, every year Harding County makes it. Big, strong ranch kids. And seriously, they're tough to beat. That could be a good game.
You know, Jolly Ranchers, I think, have been around for a while.
I think they have, yeah.
The game I think I'm
Longer
most...
than you.
Well, that's not much. But the game I think I'm most excited for is the 9AA game. You've got...
The rematch.
Yeah, the rivalry, and as you said on Calling All Sports, this used to be a conference in and of itself. Woonsocket, Wessington Springs, Sanborn Central against Woolsey Wessington. That's a lot of W's, a lot of names, but it has been a great game the last couple of years.
Well, Hunter Johnson leads the way for Woolsey Wessington. He's got 2,000 yards for the second straight year. You know, last year Lorenzo Williams got all the pub, and they had two 2,000-yard
Yeah,
games
that's amazing. And of course, Lorenzo's at state now.
But they lost to the Blackhawks the first time around, 20-6. The Warbirds lost to the Blackhawks are Woonsocket, Washington Springs, Sanborn Central. I shot their game Saturday against a very good. I got to tell you this, Colton Dragasat might be the best high school quarterback I've seen all year.
Wow.
On Saturday, he was
that was impressive.
Really good.
That was a show.
3 touchdown passes in the first half. The third of which didn't even make our highlights. It was a 75-yard bomb. Hit him in. It's just that they were going away from me, and it took so long. We could only show so many plays from each game on Saturday. He is really good, and he ran 61 yards for a touchdown. So. They were glad to get past that game.
They had to earn their way to this championship.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And you know, Landon Oshner's ankle was bad. I mean, he was dragging his leg back to the huddle after the first couple of plays. And what a gutty performance by him, staying in the game throughout the whole thing. And it's going to be key. He's going to have to be healthy enough to be good in their championship game on Thursday for them to win, because Woolsey Washington's a pretty good team too. But I agree. I think that could be a really exciting game.
Two teams that like to run it a lot too. I mean, and I know you mentioned this on the show when you had Coach Kolosik on. Maybe you pass a little bit. They have shown the ability, I think, of the two teams. Woonsocket has been a better passing team at times. They both like to run, and they have big backs. That could be a factor. I mean, they're both physical teams. It could be a very quick game in terms of.
I don't think either team's going to throw much. I think the Blackhawks could, if they need to. Tucker Kingsbury's a good quarterback, by the way. Made a ridiculous play.
The pitch.
That pitch when he was just about down, and it was on the winning drive when they were behind. If they turn the ball over there, the game's over.
Yeah.
So it was.
That was one of the better games we've seen all year.
Oh yeah, I was. Despite the fact that the golf course was right next to the field, driving me crazy before the game started, looking at that 7th hole, the flag, number 7, rippling in the wind. Once the game got started, I was thrilled to be there because it was a fun game. It went back and forth and back and forth. And Stanley County had the ball down in the red zone at the end of the game, and time
just
ran
ran
out.
That was the downside to having a daytime start, is that because when I went there a couple days before for the game against Baltic, it was dark, so I couldn't see anything. But daytime start teased you with the golf, but you're able to stay for the whole thing and get the finish. So,
right. Yep.
And one last note on this 9AA title game: both these teams lost in last year's championship games.
In different classes.
Yeah, different classes. Woolsey Wessington lost to Howard, and it was a great game. Gregory, I think Woonsocket took the lead in that game early, and then Gregory kind of dominated. So these are two teams that have certainly been to that dome a lot. Now moving up to the 11-man, Friday at 1:30, bit of a Cinderella team. Tri-Valley, although they've had a history of going.
I don't agree with that.
But they were the 7th seed coming in. They've had to go to Roncalli and Sioux Valley.
Look who they played in the regular season, Zach.
But you're going on the road.
No,
though.
you play Del Rapids, you play West Central, and you play all the top teams. There's no way they're a Cinderella team. They're a good team. They're a team that, if there was one team in the entire playoffs that their regular season set them up for the postseason, it's Tri-Valley's. Look at their schedule. It was brutal.
I still think, though, when you have to go on the road as much as they did in the playoffs, that's a tough thing. To go to Aberdeen, to go to,
look at the scores.
Yeah, they
was
blew
it that
through
tough?
Apparently not.
No, okay. Point. Thank you.
Well, they're going to have a tough one on Friday because Winter
Yes,
has been very good. They've been one of the more dominant teams in the state.
They always are. The Warriors always have great football there, all the way back to the days of Harvey Nass, and they've got a really good team again this year. You can look at what they do on offense, but what I look at is in their 11 victories, 8 of them have been goose eggs. 8 shutouts.
Purple people eaters.
And they had one in the semifinals against a really good Groton area team.
Yeah. The game that like I said, the 9AA game is the one I'm most looking forward to. The next on the list is 11A.
I'm actually looking forward to the Tri-Valley Winter game.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to all of them. They all have potential, I think, to be pretty good. But this 11A game, just because I remember what happened 2 years ago, we have Madison for the 3rd straight years in the title game. West Central, of course, has been there a ton. 2 years ago, they hooked up for a classic title game, and it has that potential again. I
agree. I think it does too. I don't think it would be an upset if West Central won this time, though, at all.
It wasn't really an upset the last time, too. They've always both been good.
When you're undefeated, though, and winning the way they were, I think it was a little bit of an upset the last time. But West Central's won 12 state titles. They know what they're doing when it comes time to playing in the Dome. Kent Mueller's a great coach, and he's got that longevity to prove that he's a great coach, and they'll be ready for the game. It would not surprise me at all if they won. I sure like some of the talented kids that Madison has on their team.
Yep.
But they came close to losing 2 or 3 times in the second half of the season, starting with that Sioux Falls Christian game.
Maybe that helps them a little bit, though, because the last 2 years they really went into those championships blowing people out. This time they've had to work for it a little more because the last 2 title games were dogfights, and they came up short. And of course, they're looking for their first ever state title. You got to think eventually they keep knocking on the door, they're going to break it down.
Good point.
I try. 11AA.
Just like the good point I made about Tri-Valley.
Yeah, very good point. You got me on that one a lot better than I got you.
They're
that's
not
for sure.
Cinderella team. They're a good team.
And if you look at their history, they've never been a Cinderella team. So 11AA, probably the most unpredictable class this season. 7:30, of course, last year we had the Brookings-Yankton final, which was another classic. That was, when you look at not only that, the talent that went to play college football right now was incredible. Yankton's back there this year. They're playing Pierre, who, of course, just won. This is the battle of the last 2 champions in 11AA. A lot different circumstances, though, as opposed to the last 2 years. Yankton lost their quarterback, Reed Sawatsky, so they've been playing basically without. They've almost been playing with a running back, I think, at quarterback, and I think they've mixed in a younger kid, too. But Pierre started the year pretty dominant, kind of faded a little bit. Now they've gotten back on a roll. They've got Brevin Kaiser, who's a pretty good quarterback. I'm not really sure how this one's going to go. 2
losses.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you could say they faded.
And one of them was to Washington. Yeah.
I guess I kind of like Pierre coming into this game because of the fact that Yankton doesn't have the guy that was going to be leading them all year long. But you know what? They've gotten where they're at without him.
They were actually.
It happened right away. So, I mean, it happened in the first game. So, this is kind of a tough one to call.
Yeah, it's fitting because that's the way the class was this year with Mitchell and a couple other teams. And then finally, the 11 AAA game on Saturday night, after, of course, the State U football game at 7:30. First time in 2 years we haven't had Lincoln and Roosevelt. It's going to be O'Gorman and Washington. Again, this was one of the reasons we really liked these playoffs because they were unpredictable. At the start of the year, I think we all had Roosevelt going in, and some things happened, and O'Gorman... I had the conversation today on the racquetball floor with one of the guys that's a big O'Gorman fan, and I said, before the year started, didn't think anybody would touch Roosevelt, but you know they lost to Brandon Valley when they weren't decimated yet by injuries, and they've been really hit by them, and lost a really good game to O'Gorman. The Knights are playing better and better and better. They got a passing attack to go with their normal running attack. They got a couple of guys that can catch the ball, and their quarterback, he can run it or he can throw it. He's a dual threat. I will say it says a lot of Roosevelt, too. Even when they lost their Jet Thune, the 2 other losses to Washington and O'Gorman were still down to the wire last second. So, but these 2 teams, Washington and O'Gorman, and Washington won a great semifinal, too. Brandon Valley, they went back and forth with Brandon Valley. They're very similar because you've got Fritsch, like you
Fritsch
said.
and Stelhaus are both good quarterbacks.
Very similar.
Yeah.
You got two big, tall receivers in Peary and Ty Smith, who they can go up and get to. The running games are there.
Mm-hmm.
They're almost mirror images. When they played in the regular season a few weeks ago, it was 39. That was kind of the game which kind of announced Washington, I think, kind of being a contender. I think Washington beat them like 39-23.
Yep.
So I could see it being a lot closer this year. There could be a lot of points in this one.
They're so close, really, that I think this is just that game that whoever makes mistakes is going to lose, and you can't predict mistakes.
Yeah, and you got to feel good for the coaches too. I mean, Steve Keeter, who of course set the win record this year, and Chad Statham. I mean, he walked into a situation where, obviously under the Hermanson era, where they'd been to the Dome so many years, they lost so many kids. The last 2 years have been a bit of a struggle, but Statham, this is the third different program he's taken to the Dome. He went there with Flandreau and Howard, so. Great story for the two coaches.
I think it's a great story, in particular for Chad Statham, because the last 2 years you could say were a struggle. I think it was a lot more than just a struggle.
That's probably putting it lightly.
And it was tough on him, and he stood his ground, and his kids stuck with him, and they were committed to his program. And it takes a little while for a new program to take root, and it has. And I'm surprised at how well they've done this year. I guess I shouldn't be. He's a quality guy, and I'm really happy for him. Steve Keeter and I have been golf buddies and friends for a long time. He's won a lot of state championships. There's no doubting what a great coach he is. He's the all-time winningest coach in South Dakota history, and so.
Been a while since he's been to the Dome, though. I think somebody said it was the last time they'd been to the Dome was Dusty Coleman as the quarterback.
It has been a while. So it's a good story on both sides there.
Well, we're going to have a lot of good stories this week.
By the way, Chad's a Yankees fan, so maybe I shouldn't really say so many nice things about him.
That's a good
point.
point.
I can't help it. He's a good guy.
Took you a little while.
Despite that.
It's been a while since you worked a Red Sox-Yankees reference into a blog.
Chad usually mentions it when we're together, so.
Well, you've had a lot more to have on him the last couple of years than
I haven't. They finished last 3 of the last 4 years, but the Red Sox.
You do have more world titles in the last.
I don't know if the Yankees have won one since we won 3.
They won the one in 09.
Yeah,
but it's 3-1, so you still have scoreboard.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have a lot of great stories this week. Be sure to keep it tuned to KDLT and Calling All Sports on the radio as well. We'll have you stocked for highlights, reaction. It's gonna be a great week, and before you know it, the season's turned. We're already starting to have basketball practices starting. So.
Hey, how about Augustana beating Iowa? Last second shot by Dan Jansen last Friday night.
The Orange City native, the only Iowa native on the team, hits the game-winning shot.
And they were up by 16 points in the second half, so it's not like it was a fluky win. They actually blew a 16-point lead and then hit the game. They just wanted it to be more dramatic.
The number 1 ranked team in Division II. Football season's been great this year. Basketball season could be just as good with the setups we got. So, hey, enjoy all the games, and we will talk to you later.